Welcome to the Witness Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Trader, and this is episode 4. Have you ever really wanted something? Ever want something so bad you feel like you would do almost anything to get it? Do you have something that you dream of right now? A dream job or dream career? Have you ever gotten something that you really wanted, only to find out it wasn't everything you thought it was going to be? Depending on the level of effort it required for you to reach that goal, finding out that it wasn't everything you hoped for can be pretty devastating. The emptiness that comes with achievement can be a shocking reality that overwhelms you. I know. Some people might be saying, well, I'd like to at least give it a shot. I get it, me too. Our next witness is a man who seemed to have it all. He was on the brink of reaching the pinnacle of success that many a young boy has dreamed of on the schoolyard playground. Someone who knew what it was to play on the high school and college fields of glory. He even made it to the big time, playing football in the NFL. But once he got there, he found himself wanting more. Ladies and gentlemen, I call to the stand David Upchurch.
There you go. All right, you can continue.
So yeah, I'm here today with my friend David Upchurch. Actually, David is the first person I'm sitting down with that I haven't known for a long time. We really just, I'd say in the past year, started to connect a little bit. So,
Yeah.
David, it's great to have you here today, man.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to come and just share what God has done in my life and what he's doing in my life. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, man, I was explaining to you before we started recording that the idea behind this podcast is that, you know, the Bible calls God the wonderful counselor, which in, I think, modern times you can think of that as a defense attorney. So we call you to the stand so that you can testify about what God has done for you. And as I was saying earlier, you know, you have an opportunity. A lot of times people want you to share your testimony, but it's usually in like a 15-minute format or something like that. This is an opportunity to take your testimony in depth and tell all those little nooks and crannies, all those special moments where you were at a crossroads and you really felt God speak to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely some special moments there. You know, I think a lot of times, you know, you really don't have too many opportunities to share, or at least you believe you don't have too many opportunities to share. But I guess when you come across people and God places that opportunity in front of you, you want to be ready to share, you know, and give glory on what he's done in your life and what he's doing in your life. So I'm excited about this opportunity
Right.
to just kind of sit down and share just all he's bringing me through and brought me from.
Yeah, man, me too. I'm excited too, but for a little bit of a different reason because you were on my radar, but then I found out you played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And
Yeah.
I was like, I got to get this guy.
Oh
here.
yeah, definitely played football with the Steelers. You know, grew up playing football, got a scholarship to play at West Virginia University, and then went on and played for the Steelers a couple years. On the practice squad, which that is even a part of my testimony, and it's not for the reason I think people may believe. They may believe like, oh, your testimony is God allowed you to play football. I think it's more so that he kept me from, you know, that life that comes with being a professional athlete. Not saying that if you're a professional athlete, you can't walk and do God's will. It's
Right.
just he knew my frame.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
he knew what I needed, and he knew what I didn't need.
Right.
So I thank God for the things. You know, he's been showing me that. Yeah, he's Jehovah Jireh. He's my provider. He's a healer. He's a redeemer. But he's also an allower. You know, he's a God that's sovereign and he allows things in your life. And sometimes you may not understand it. Sometimes it may go against things that you hoped and dreamed for, things that you feel as though it has to be God because it's wrapped in success and stuff. But God knows what's best. He doesn't make any mistakes. And in due times, the things that you don't understand, he will share it to you when you're ready to receive it.
You're talking to me, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was 23 when Pittsburgh called after the draft, which was crazy because I was slotted to be like a second, third round pick, and I went undrafted, which was a shock to everybody because I was fairly successful.
Well, hold on. I definitely want to get to
Okay,
that.
I'm
But
sorry.
I would like to kind of take it way back to the
Mhm.
beginning. Like, where were you born and
I
how did you
got you.
grow up and what things made you David Upchurch?
Okay, so yeah, I was born here. I'm a Maryland, from Maryland. Grew up in Prince George's County in Hyattsville, probably about 10, 15 minutes from University of Maryland College Park. Raised by a single mom. Never knew my dad. My mom had me when she was in college. Her and my dad kind of broke off. She went to Syracuse University and she came back home. Um, and never knew my dad. He died from diabetes when I was, I think, in the fifth grade. Before he died, I want to say a month or two before that, he called, and I was real excited, even though I was 10 years old. First time I heard from my dad, was planning to come see me at Christmas, um, but mom came to pick me up from school, and actually my grandmother came to pick me up from school, which is weird because my grandmother seldomly drove. And I was just like, why you pick me up? Well, my mom ain't come get me back. She was like, well, you'll find out when you get home. Come home, my mom is just crying hysterically, and that's when she let me know my dad died, um, which I really didn't think it had an impact on me because I didn't know him. But, as time went on, even now, I have an understanding of that wound that was there, just not having a father in my life. So I was raised by my mom. She was she was a great mom, but we didn't have a lot. She worked for the Department of Social Services, didn't make a lot of money, had a lot of struggles, went through a lot of different things. But one thing she instilled with me was having a relationship with Jesus Christ. We was raised in the church, apostolic faith. A lot of fire and brimstone back there, though.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of religion and not relationship.
Yeah.
And so my relationship with God wasn't really built out of love, more so a fear, and not a healthy fear at all. It was a fear of condemnation and shame if I mess up, if I made a mistake. Didn't know God for myself. Only knew my mom's God, not God for me. And that really hindered me going off to school because I was left with a lot of decisions and choices. And although I understood right and wrong and what not to do, what I should do, as Paul would say, I didn't do it because I didn't know God.
Right.
I didn't have a relationship with him. And so not having a father, not knowing God, I got into a lot of things that I shouldn't have got into.
So when you were growing up, though, would you say that God was ever present in your mind?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He was ever present in my mind. I it's funny because even living how I lived and riotous living, what some people would say, and yes, there's pleasure, there's fun and sin. Like I always had conviction. I really never could enjoy it. I
Yeah.
never, it was just like I could see my friends and they just had a good time. And when I indulged in it, it just wasn't the same feeling because I was hit with so
Yeah.
much conviction. And at that time, it felt like shame and condemnation. But now knowing what I know, it was just a lot of conviction.
It's funny you say that because I also spent some time away from God, and I can remember like at certain moments, and this is foolish. I know how I knew how foolish it was to think this then, but still, the thought would come to me like, man, I wish that I hadn't been raised the way I was raised
Yeah.
so that I could enjoy all this stuff as much as everybody else
Absolutely.
is. Because it didn't seem like they had the same
Nope.
the same conscience that I had.
Nah, it wasn't. And I knew that was always something that was different about me. But I knew God, even when I wasn't with him, he was always with me. Just pricking at my heart. Like I said, never enjoyed it. Never, um, it was pleasure in it. I'll be lying if I said it wasn't pleasure in it. But, there was, like I said, a conviction afterwards and just a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, a lot of condemnation because of that lack of relationship. Like I knew what not to do. I knew the principles. I knew laws. I knew things, but I couldn't apply it because of the lack of relationship. I wasn't letting his spirit lead and govern me. I wasn't receiving his grace at all. I was just in iniquity, doing what I wanted to do, trying to fill spaces and voids that were inside that he wanted to fill. You know, I struggle with a lot of affirmation and adequacy. You know,
Right.
I never really felt adequate enough. And I know that sounds strange. People are like, oh, you're a star athlete, this, that, and the
Yeah,
other.
well, that's kind of like that father wound,
Yeah,
man, because
yeah.
your dad is the one that gives you that,
Absolutely.
you know, the guy he's the one that pats you on the back and says, you're doing good, boy,
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
absolutely. With my mom being in a position of trying to be mom and dad, she was so tough. And it was like, you know, I was a very smart kid, did real well in school. I was class clown, just
Right.
trying to, and but it's just like, oh, you got to be. Why didn't you get an A? Or why didn't you this? Like, it never was enough, and never had an affirming speech or thought towards the things in which I'd done. Like, oh, I got a full ride, but you didn't do this,
Right.
or and you didn't do that, and like you said, never had a father to affirm and be there to say, you know what, son, I'm proud of you. You know, just keep striving, keep pushing. So when that void is in there, when that wound is there, it's hard to even build a relationship with a God that you can't even see.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
So, do you remember having any early church experiences where you did feel that closeness
Oh.
and you did feel like there was a call on your life, like
absolutely, absolutely. I gave my life to the Lord. I dedicated my life to the Lord when I was a teenager. I was about 13 years old when
Okay.
I responded to the call and was filled with the Holy Spirit. But even at that time, by it being a gift, you know, and God knew my heart. And so, it's like, okay, here's my spirit to help you, but I never allow it to govern and lead me. I had moments where, you know what I mean, I talked to God, but it wasn't out of love. It was more out of fear.
so it's 13. Was that the first time you felt the pull on your life, or
I would say yes, because I believe for me, it was so forced. I had to go to church. And
Right.
back then, like, I mean, this is in the 80s.
we went to church come
Yeah.
hell or high water back then?
Hell or
man.
high water, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
sir.
every service. I mean, my mom would pull me from football games, and I ain't understand it, at that time. Pull me from practice or whatever. Like, we constantly was in church. You had to be in the choir or usher.
And I mean, for me, that almost created a little bit of a resentment.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. A resentment, a bitterness to see God not how He truly is.
Yeah.
I didn't know His character.
Yeah.
I only knew Him as a title and what it stood for and what I perceived it stood for. And there was, like I said, no love, no relationship. But at that time, when I was 13 and the message was brought forth, something was pricked in my heart to go down. And that's when, I was baptized and filled with His Holy Spirit, but still didn't have understanding,
Right.
true understanding
Right.
of what
It was just trying to stay out of hell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. I don't want to go to hell.
Right.
I don't want to go to hell. And so this is what I need to do.
Or I don't want to be left behind.
Absolutely. No left behind. I gotta repent and be baptized. Every one of you in the name of Jesus Christ for the remission of sins, and just kind of miss out that whole process, the sanctification process, the process of building a relationship and being a new creature. And understanding really what that was.
In saying that, I always like to make, I'm not in any way casting shade on my leadership at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Just for me, the message of grace just didn't get through to me.
No, not
I'm
at
not
all.
saying it wasn't taught or preached,
Yeah.
but I wasn't hearing it. So I just want to make that point.
Well, I wasn't hearing it in my recollection. If I can really go back, I don't really remember it really being preached
Right.
as much, more so than doing the do's and don't do the don'ts.
Yeah.
And, just following in line and that grace and really understanding what that was, that I needed that. I needed that power to do His will. I needed Him to work in me to will and do of His good pleasure, and nothing could be done on my own. I did not understand that, and did not have someone pull me over to help show me that. The church I went to, which I thank God for.
Is that church still around?
No, it's not. Our pastor passed, and it was a family church, and it kind of split off.
Okay.
But it's kind of still around, but it's not.
Right.
It's in many different pieces. And we had a great bishop, but then he was had a stroke and was stricken to a wheelchair for about 7-8 years, and it kind of went a lot of different ways after that. But it wasn't a lot of discipleship going on.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot of teaching and understand, relationship and growing in grace and the knowledge of who Christ is for you. And I think that was the missing piece that I didn't have when I was younger. That God had to take me through some circumstances and allow things in my life for me to see that and become dependent on Him. And it's funny too, because it's just like, man, it took all of this, Lord, and it's. I tell people all the time, like, everybody's journey is different. God knows our frame, and He knows exactly what we need. And I stopped asking that question. Did it take all this? I'm glad that.
Yeah. Apparently it
did.
did.
Apparently, yeah, because it's just like, man, it took all of this, but it did. I mean, it took me going through, disappointments in a career that I thought I was going to have. Obviously, I was married once before. I failed marriage. I had my first child out of wedlock with my ex-wife, and then we had my youngest.
How old were you when you got married the first time?
I was 25.
Oh, wow.
So at that time, I had my first child when he was 20. When I was 20, I was in my senior year of college. So in 2003, then we got married in 2005. And at that time, I was a free agent. I had got released from Pittsburgh and got picked up by the Ravens. I was there for about.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, about 3 months. Yeah, I know. Sitting down with Ozzie Newsome, and he was sitting there like, I wanted you after the draft because I was a high priority free agent, and they actually offered me more money to come there, but Pittsburgh didn't draft any linemen at that time. Baltimore had drafted a couple of linemen, and I was just like, the better opportunity was in Pittsburgh, even though that was coming back home. And I was just like, man, we really, really wanted you. I remember talking to him before the draft, like, but it's pretty cool to sit down.
That's amazing.
Yeah, man. So I was with Baltimore. They had some injuries, so they kind of like, oh, you were the last who brought in, so we had to let you go. So that was mid-season. Then I went to the Chargers for the playoffs. Got married that July of 2005, and at that time, it's crazy to be a full transparency. At that time, like the day before my marriage, I found out that my soon-to-be wife was cheating on me.
Oh, wow.
The day before. We still got married the next day. And I always tell myself, I was like, Lord, you was giving me every way of escape, but I wasn't listening.
Was she of like faith?
No, not at the time. Not at that time. She knew the Lord, but didn't, have a, strong background or foundation in it. Now, once we got married, she gave her life to the Lord. But it was just so many different wounds just from that.
Couldn't. Yeah.
It just didn't last.
That's hard, man.
It is. It's very difficult. It was very difficult. I didn't want it to end just because of, like I said, I was still rooted in that fear. Like, I can't get a divorce or this, that, and the other. And there was some infidelity that went on there where I had the right to leave. But, we had 2 children at the time. But eventually, it went on. And I kind of struggled with that because I was just like, well, Lord, I'm like, can I get married again? Or is it, she not dead, so is she still my wife? And I'm just like, well, we under a new covenant now, we under grace, and,
That's a head trip, man.
Yeah, I went back and forth just struggling and just being able to, understand that we're under grace, and eventually he led me to, who he had for me all along. Further down the line.
Right.
But it was a struggle from the divorce till, I guess I got divorced. A divorce was final in 2012, but it took like 2.5 years to get divorced. So from then, I was, 32? I want to say 20. So 8 years
Wow.
was a hard 8 years in my life.
Yeah, I mean, I've been close to people who have gone through divorce, and I
Yeah.
mean, it will make you crazy.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it's amazing how, I mean, because when you get married, you're intertwined
Yeah,
spiritually and
absolutely.
naturally with that person, and you
Yeah.
break those bonds.
Yeah.
It does something to you.
It was difficult. That 8 years, I mean, between trying to co parent, trying to raise kids, trying to keep the kids in the truth, walk my own
Yeah.
walk with God, and wasn't doing that well at all.
Well, I can imagine the adversary. Surely that's a big thing he can play on. I mean,
He played on it big time. Because I just couldn't. I didn't have a relationship with God, but I knew better,
yeah,
and
that's
so it's like
terrible
I
place.
tried to show my kid. I tried to tell my kids better, but I wasn't showing them better. I wasn't living a life that I wanted them to live and show them, and so it was hard. And sometimes I sit back and look at it now when some of the struggles that I have, trying to impart. And all I can do is just focus on how I'm living now and not go back and understand that, God is going to finish the work that not only he started in me, but he also started in my sons.
Right.
But yeah, it was a tough.
And is your ex-wife still in the faith? Still living?
So she had some church hurt
Yeah.
from a few churches that we went to. And so it's like, oh, I go to church online, and she still believe in God, Jesus, and the whole nine, and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that I mean, I believe you do, need to go to church, be under covering, all those things.
Right.
But I'm not saying that you can't have a relationship with God,
Right.
because you don't. So it's not like she's in a whole totally different religion or anything like that. Like, no, she still believes.
It's
Jesus
just a lot
Christ.
of head trash to work through, man.
It is because it's just my priorities and what I set first in my son's life don't necessarily align with her. It's still like, it's like, oh, don't plan anything on Sunday. We go to church, or don't do this. And it's just like, oh, what's the big deal? And it's just trying to really set standards and priorities in their life to understand that we put him first.
Right.
And so, I mean, I tell people all the time, like, when you make decisions out your iniquities, it's going to be rough, because God don't want glory in that, and he don't want people to see glory in it.
That's
like
true,
people
man.
like, oh, this is you're very well acclimated. No, I want you to know it's hard. Don't do it.
Yeah.
It's a struggle when you walk in your own iniquity, and tough. It's wages for sin. It's wages for doing the things in which you want to do.
He can turn your morning into dancing.
Absolutely.
But it ain't an easy process.
It is not an easy process. And I said a 40-day journey can turn into 40 years when you're not content and you don't appreciate who he is. He shows you who he is.
Absolutely.
I've had many situations in my life that could have went different. Situations, just literally life and death situations, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Situations where
we got time, so if you want to share some of those
well,
stories,
I mean,
feel free.
just young and dumb in high school. I wasn't, drinking, drugging, and everything, just doing stupid things with my friends. Had all the opportunities in the world, but just was chasing something.
So how do you get away with drinking and drugging and still be on the path to professional athlete?
Well, it's funny. So when I was in high school, I had a real close friend, and he was a year older than me, but we played football together and was close. And he's the one that introduced me to drugs, weed and things of that nature. And I grew up around all of that. I say this all the time. I'm only male in my family who hasn't been in jail.
Wow.
Most of the men in my family been in jail, sold drugs. A lot of people, like I said, I came up in a hard environment. My house was raided multiple times. My uncle, who was like a father figure to me, but he was a big time drug dealer in the area. So it was a lot of things that went on, in our life, but kind of stayed away from it. They kind of kept me away from it.
So did you stay away from it because of because of your fear of God, or did you stay away from it because of your dream of being an athlete?
I think it was a little bit of both. I knew it was wrong, and I wasn't going to go that route. They weren't going to let me go that route, but it's also I knew I had so much more. But the funny thing is, though, that's why when I look at my sons or any other youth, I'm like, look, I can understand how you can be stupid and naive because I definitely was there. Like I dibbled and dabbled in it, when I was doing drugs, weed, wanted to sell weed, all this. And it's just like, what are you doing? You have a whole full scholarship coming up. You're a top athlete in the state and the country. What's wrong?
Yeah.
But at that time, I didn't know that it was a wound. I was just filling it with stuff that, I just didn't know. Just doing real stupid things. And I knew the Lord. And so just to share a story, it was going into the summer, going into college, and I had an all-star game to go to. It was the Chesapeake Classic. It's when Maryland plays Pennsylvania. And my homeboys, who were a year older than me, so they was already in college, it's like, all right, man, come through and smoke. I was like, man, I'm trying not to take smoking into college, But I was like, all right, we'll come this one last time.
Smoking weed or just
smoking weed.
Okay.
Yeah, you definitely got to be. And so we're in Langley Park. We out in the park, and literally, I began to trip out, and people might be like, oh, you smoking weed. I'm telling you, this was God. Let me kind of get to it. I'm tripping out. I'm like, what is going on right now? I feel like I'm about to die. And it was like, calm down, David. It's just the weed. I'm like, no, this is different. Why y'all not tripping out? I literally, we got in the car, and it was like, we're going to go get you something to eat and water to, kind of because all we had was Mad Dog.
You were really flipping out.
Yeah, I was flipping out. And all we had was Mad Dog 2020. I don't know if anybody know about Mad Dog 2020, but and I'm not. And here's the thing: I'm not glorifying any of this. I'm just trying to share my testimony.
But if you're flipping out, you definitely don't want to be drinking
Mad Dog
20.
20. So it's like we're going to. We went to 7-Eleven, and I remember something in my mind was just like, get out the car and just run in the middle of the street. And my friend had to tackle me in the car. And so they got me in the car and restraining me, and I'm just crying. And I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. And I literally go into tongues.
Wow.
And I began to start speaking in tongues. And then I remember just quoting. I didn't even know I knew. I mean, I was raised in church.
Sure,
I went to Christian school. This is my friends telling me everything because I really don't remember. They said, man, we knew you went to church. Man, you was quoting so many scriptures. You was telling us about God, from Langley Park all the way to my home in Hyattsville. They said you were just flowing and flowing. We was just like, man, what is going on?
I feel the Holy Ghost.
And
right
they was
now,
like, man, you was just talking in this language and this, that, and the other. So they take me back home. I say, take me back home because I feel like I'm dying. I need to go back. So we go into my basement. And my mom's upstairs. And he's like, dude, just calm down. And I'm like, Mom. And this time my mom ain't know I was drinking, smoking. I was like, I'm high and I think I'm dying. Come down here, help me. I need you. Come down. And they was like, shut up. And so she comes downstairs and JC, who's my best friend, it's like, what's going on? And he was like, Miss Upchurch, we were smoking and drinking. And I just felt like the enemy just was attacking me and everything. And I began to throw up and I think just manifest all just the unclean spirits and everything out. And I say that to say, and I know the story is long, but I just want to set it up. I remember, because like I say, remember my family, all the men in my family either did drugs, sold drugs, or went in jail. So I used to always tease my uncle, who was a drug addict. And I was like, man, how you used to smoke crack and everything? How you do all that? And I remember him coming downstairs. We all lived in the same house, my uncle's son.
That's wild, man.
And he was laughing. And he's like, see, I told you. You mess with me, laugh at me, and look at you. And I was like, I know, I'm sorry. So from that day on, I was like, I'm not touching it anymore. And I didn't. I remember going to college and, never smoking and never doing it again. But I say this to say, my freshman year summer, JC, my best friend, I get a call. And
freshman year of college.
College, yeah. So I'm going into my sophomore year because I already did my freshman year, and it's the summer, and we had to stay up there to work out. I remember getting a call, and from his mom, and his mom was like, JC is dead.
Oh my gosh.
And I just like, what? And that just hit me so hard. And I remember one thing like that really, and this is like witness, right? So this whole thing is built around witness. One of my major regrets is I had so many opportunities to be salt and light to him, to witness to him, for him to see the light that I knew and had, and not really conform to the things in which they were doing. Because I don't know where he was at the time. He got in a car accident. And my friends told the story. They went out, and on their way out to the club, they walked past the church. And they remember JC stopping them. She was like, man, what you doing? He's like, I just need to pray and talk to God and just, ask him for forgiveness. This is literally the night before.
Wow.
So they said he knelt down at the church and began to pray. Then they went out. He dropped them off at home, and literally on his way home, coming down 95 by Greenbelt, he fell asleep, hit the median, flew out the car, died.
Man.
And then his mom was a nurse, and she was at work. And they literally,
my gosh, man.
they pulled him in, and she was like, oh, my God, this is my son. And I said, Lord, I pray that he reconciled himself with you, because I don't know, but for him to be led to do that. But for me, it was just always like something that really just like hit hard. More than just his death was the fact that like I had an opportunity to witness, to share the good news, to share the love of God. But because shame and not even knowing them for myself or allowing myself to know who he really was, I didn't do it. And that's one of the biggest regrets that I have. And that's one of the reasons why, being in a better space and a better season with God, like I'm always willing to share, whether it's in church, at a restaurant, or whatever, because you never know. You never know when that time will come, and opportunities that you have to be sensitive to his voice and be able to share just the love of God.
Right.
Because it's important for people to know, like, hey, I've been where you at. Or I know someone who's been where you at, but I know someone who can bring you out of that, who can give you peace and love and joy, where you don't have to fill it with these other things of the world, but you can come to him. And it took me going through an array of things, and God also allowing an array of things to bring me to a point, which obviously he's not finished yet, but this to bring me to the point that I'm in today. And that I wouldn't change.
Yeah, I think that really is a key to, I don't know, I guess you would call it evangelizing, but giving something to someone that they can relate to. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You tell a story, and all of a sudden something triggers in somebody's mind and says, I know what that's about.
Yeah.
I didn't think I could get through this, but you got through it.
Yeah.
So maybe there is hope for me.
Absolutely.
That's kind of the idea behind this podcast, is like somebody will listen to it, they'll feel like no one understands what I'm going through right now.
Yeah.
And then they'll hear the story of someone that's going through a like circumstance and say, oh, wow, I'm not the only one that's dealing with it.
Absolutely.
In a lot of my struggles, coming to a church like Antioch, you come to the services, you come to the church services, and you feel like you are the only person struggling.
You're like, everybody got it together in here.
People are bouncing around in the altar, and you're hearing the amens and the hallelujahs.
Absolutely.
And man, you just want to go somewhere and cry,
But you see the liberty. You see the liberty, and you're just like, oh, they must got it all together.
Right.
Especially like you say, coming. I came to Antioch almost 2021, and I'm like, man, everybody in here got it together. That's why I didn't know everybody.
Right.
But then it's just like you start getting to know people, especially people. I love it that it's diverse, right?
Yeah.
So you can't judge books by its covers. Like you feel as though, people that look like me go through the same thing, and people look like them. No, that's not true at all. And you begin to learn, and you begin to see like, oh, God done brought us through some similar things.
Yeah.
And we have a lot more in common than what we may think.
Right. It really helps, because your troubles can make you feel isolated.
Absolutely.
And it really helps to know that somebody else is dealing with almost the exact same thing.
Absolutely. It helps. I think Pastor says it all the time. Like, yeah, it's good to know what God can do, but it's also great to know because He's done it in your life.
Yeah.
And therefore I think it's always a great thing to, I believe I can witness to someone who hasn't been through something. I haven't been through something they've been through, but I also think that it's a stronger witness to have a relatable experiences with a person that may not know God, but we share some of the same things. And I believe God does a great job of making those opportunities there where you may not think it's there, but you following and you listening to His voice, and He's like, hey, speak to him, get to know him, and you just realize, oh, we got a lot more common than you think.
That's what I love about the characters in the Bible that God uses.
Yeah.
They're all pretty relatable guys.
Yes, they are.
I mean, you think about even somebody that sometimes you might look at and think this guy was perfect, like Joseph.
Yeah.
But obviously in the beginning, he had a pretty big ego he had to deal with. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean? He was
Absolutely.
his dad's favorite and all
Dad's
this.
favorite. You know things. I think sometimes we take the humanity out of people God used, and it's just like, oh, kids know when they're their favorite. And it's an air about them when they are the favorite. And you think about Joseph, like even after he interpreted the dream, he was still there for another 3 years. Obviously, God knew
God
that
was working it out.
Yeah, some things that had to be worked out in him.
Right.
I mean, we talk about it, but even like with his brothers, like it was a wrestle.
Absolutely.
It wasn't like it was just like, oh, hey.
He sent them back twice.
Yeah. He could have easily said, it's me, Joseph.
Right,
like, nah, I'm going to let y'all see what this is all about. They'll see if they figure it out. So, I mean, trust me, it was some things in Joseph. And I think that's the thing in which I think Pastor did a good job even explaining the whole Job thing. It's some things, I think it was Brother Hurt, but it was some things in Job that God had to work out.
Absolutely.
He had fear. He had that fear of just messing up and not, being upright and perfect as the word says. I was talking to my wife the other day, and I was just like, man, like, you got to understand a lot of people that God used or the things in what we see, it's all built around their calamity. I mean, there's one sentence about Job being perfect and upright. We don't get books and chapters of his perfect and uprightness. We get books upon books of the calamity that he went through, because that's when we see God, like in our weakness, in the storms, in the fire. That's when he shows up, and that's where his glory is the greatest.
One of my favorite things in the story of Job is, like, I think Job's sitting there complaining and wondering why all this is happening to him, and God's just like, where were you when I spoke all this into it? Like, who do you actually think you are questioning me, man?
Absolutely. Who are we to know the mind of Christ? Right. I'm literally learning how to stop asking questions. I mean, I know we seek and we answer and we ask and stuff like that, but some things it's just like he's a sovereign God. He's in it all. He's really put on my heart. I was actually writing notes today about, it's like, hey, the blessing and the breaking, Jesus is in it all.
Yep.
A lot of times it's easy to see God in the blessing, but he's just as big in the breaking. And so it's like, he's sovereign. And I think that was Paul when he was like, he's learned to be content, know when to be abased and abound. He understood, like, hey, it's blessings in this and it's breakings in it, and God is in it all. And we just got to understand and be able to recognize that and not just only see it one way.
Right. But there's a certain comfort in that, I think.
Yeah.
When it seems like your world is falling apart.
Absolutely.
There is a comfort in knowing that God's in it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
He's in it, and he's the only person that can shake and stir up my world, and I know that their motives are pure.
Yeah.
And it's all in love, because he is love. I mean, there's so many people that you can encounter in life that can shirk and stir up and shake your life. But why? Their motives aren't pure. But we understand that God, because he is love, his motives is always love.
Right.
And it's assuring to rest in that it may be uncomfortable, it may be inconvenience, but his thoughts are of good. And like you said, like, who are we to know the mind of Christ? Who are we to this? He created all of this.
Right.
Everything, and the fullness thereof was all him. So I think he understands what he's doing.
Yep.
I think he makes no mistakes. We make plenty. but he makes none. And he covers us with his mercy. It's only because of that we're not consumed. I mean, it's a loving God to even when you're not connected, even when you don't have that relationship, his mercy is still there. It's many, many opportunities in time where I could have been consumed. I have friends that's died. I have friends who's been in jail, and I've been in the same settings. I have friends who life isn't going how you would want to, and I've been in the same situation.
Yeah, I used to do the prison ministry,
Uh-huh.
and I would always tell those guys, I'd be like, the only thing different between you and me is I didn't get caught.
That's it. That's all it is. That is all it is. I mean, one choice away from the situations being completely
Right.
turned, but it's like I said, it's nothing but his mercy that we're not consumed. He is meek. He is gentle. He's patient. He's long suffering, and we'll never experience anyone on this earth that's like him because
Right.
he's God and God alone. And I wouldn't have the story if he wasn't. I think a lot of times people's like, oh, man, I didn't know you was an athlete. I didn't know you was this. I say because I just kind of want people to know me and most of all know the God in me
Yeah.
before that. And then I do share it because I like to
Yeah.
because I know people have dreams and thoughts, but I like to share like with God and his plans was so much bigger than that.
Right.
I hear people say, well, how is something bigger than that? I mean, wealth, riches in the world. I mean, it looks like it's everything, but it's not. It's hard for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. And that's not to say that he doesn't want to bless financially and all those other things, but it's more so the motives in the heart with people who value that, who puts that before God, who sets that as an idol. And we can do that with things, not just with money, but careers and just having that. And I just like, Lord, just continue to decrease me so he can increase in my life.
So taking it back to your story,
Mm-hmm.
would you say that your football career was an idol at a certain point?
You know what? I don't never think it was an idol because it's funny because people's like, how could you walk away? Like you could have just kept playing. You could have, figured it out. But it never – I never – I love the game in regards to the game, but I never really had love for the game, meaning like it did not control me. And I believe that was God, though.
Okay.
I believe that was God.
Like you hear stories of professional athletes, like Tiger Woods would be out there driving golf balls until he had blisters all over his hands, and Tom Brady basically formed his whole life around playing football.
Yeah.
So for you, that wasn't the case.
Nah, it wasn't the case at all. And I believe that was just his mercy.
Was it a dream that you had to play professional football?
I did have a dream to play professional football, and I believe God allowed me to do it because of his love.
Okay.
He knew.
Man, that's cool.
That's just what I tell people all the time. I was like, he know my frame. He know, like, look, I'm going to show him that, like, yeah, I gave you that ability. I put you there, but it's not for what you think, because me playing football opens a lot of doors. It sets up a lot of conversations, especially for a lot of young people that I work with. And it allows me to then come in and be able to share, like, it's things in this world that's so much bigger than the things in which we see. Because the things we see are obviously temporal. We chase dreams and goals, and there's nothing wrong with having a desire to want to be successful. But what are you seeking first? What are you prioritizing? Are you putting God first and allowing him to add all those things? And I believe, like, when you can share that, when you can stand and say, yeah, it wasn't, it's something that you can walk away from. I tell my son, he's a great baseball player. He's going to Alabama to play baseball. And but he has the opportunity to be in the Major League Draft this Sunday.
Wow, no kidding.
And so
Orioles are number 37.
Well, it's funny because they got 7 picks. They got a ton of 7 picks in like the first 3 rounds. But Orioles haven't drafted a high school pitcher in like 15 years.
Oh.
We would love
we
him.
could use some pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, so we're just like, man, he's top pitcher in the state, and it'd be a great story. And they've had some interest with him. But I told him, I said, Miles, I don't know what God's plans are for you. But what I can tell you, because I try to give him godly wisdom and allow him to build a relationship with God, learning from how I was raised. I told him, I said, at any moment, God tell you to walk away.
Yeah.
Will you walk away? I said, don't be surprised if you ever put in that situation. I'm not saying he can't use you and your career can be baseball and stuff like that. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, if he asks you to sacrifice and lay that at the altar, can you lay that at the altar?
Right, because, I mean, being real, if you're a professional athlete, you're at the very top of that particular world. Even if you're the worst guy on the worst team in the MLB, you were still the best of wherever you came from.
It is a small percentage that make it to that, and it still comes with a lot.
Right. That's a massive investment.
Yeah.
To be asked to walk away from.
Oh,
if
it
that
is.
Time should come.
It really is. It's a hard thing to choose, especially if something that you put so much time, so much sweat in. But you can take that analogy and be like, look what that got you investing in that. But if you invest in a relationship with God, see what he do. Lay it at the altar. I tell him, lay your career at the altar. It doesn't mean that you got to give it up. It might be a ram in the bush and say no, but this is how I want you to be when you do it. And when I tell you that is enough, then it's enough. And so it's those principles that I didn't have that I'm trying to show him. Like when it came to him selecting a college and everything, I didn't tell him. I gave him wisdom, but I told him pray. Talk to God and let his voice, let his peace rule you. I said because you won't have regrets when you allow him to lead because he makes no mistakes. I said don't make choices off your emotions or your feelings, whether you like it or not. We were talking about, whether he's going to go to the draft or stay in college because he's down in Alabama for summer. And he said, well, I'm glad I got to come down here so I can see if I like it. And if I like it, and I had to stop him, I hit pause. And I said, this is also going to help you when you find your wife. I said, because everything you like don't mean that it's right.
Yeah.
I said, because most of the time, your wife is to get you right, not that you. I like my wife and I love my wife, so I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, it's like, don't let that rule you.
No, your wife is going to challenge you.
Yeah, it's going to challenge you in ways she's going to know.
That's going to make you better.
Yeah, that's going to make you better. And things that make you better, just like medicine or anything, doesn't feel or taste good all the time.
Right.
So you can't let the emotion of, well, I like it. I said, don't let that lead you. I said, you pray and ask God what his will is. Your peace, open any door, close every door that I walk through. And Lord, I don't want to do. I said, I always cover my prayers with just like, well, Lord, obviously, Lord, I feel as though I know the Lord's voice. I'm led by peace sometimes, but sometimes it's silent. And so it's just like he's just waiting on me to move. I'm like, all right, Lord, when I'm going to move, I don't want to be out of your will. Yep. So you'll shut this door if it's not. And then we just keep it moving.
There you go.
Because he just want to know where your heart is and where your stature is. So I'm trying to teach them that because I wasn't taught that at that time. Teach them relationship.
That's the relationship versus fear.
Yeah, that fear is, man. And so when you have that fear, therefore you don't have his love because his perfect love casts out all fear. And so now I know that I experience and I walk in his love because that fear is gone, the fear of failure, the fear of making mistakes, the fear of being perfect. Like all of that is gone because I know it's his righteousness. It's not my righteousness. It's not my works. He's already done it all. It's no license to sin, but I understand and I have belief and faith that, that it's already taken care of.
Right.
And so that's where that freedom and liberty is.
Right. Man, I keep trying to get you to tell your story, and you keep preaching.
Oh, no. You got to ask me some questions. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. So, getting back to the timeline, let's say, so you in high school, you knew in high school that you were going to go to West Virginia. How did all that happen?
So it's just funny. I just came off telling you about my son don't like it. So I could have pretty much went anywhere. My mom wanted me to go to West Point. I got into West Point. Like I said, I was a smart kid.
Okay.
Got an engineering degree, so I was a pretty smart kid. God has blessed me intellectually. So I took a visit to Ole Miss, West Virginia. I went to West Point for my mom, went to NC State. And
She probably figured West Point would keep you out of trouble.
Oh man, I didn't want to do that plebe year though. I was like,
Yeah.
nah, I'm not getting up early in the morning, not knowing football. You get up early in the morning all the time, so it's just like I should have went. But, so I went to a Maryland game and they played West Virginia, and there was so many West Virginia fans there, and they were crazy, and they were a real good team at that time. The year I went in, they were like ranked 11th. First game of the year was against Ohio State, #1. Lou Holtz was the commentator. They had like David Boston, and like it was crazy. And I told myself, like, I love the environment. It was fun. The people were friendly. It was 3 hours from home. My mom could come to the game. So I was just like, I'm going to WVU. Great opportunity. Had a great time, if I speak in the natural. You know what I mean? It was fun. Met a lot of people. Had great coaching. And I grew up a lot. I grew up a lot. Like I said, I had a lot of situations and opportunities to grow in my faith, and just really learning like who I was and who I was in Christ, and what type of man.
Were you going to church there out there?
Yeah, I was. They had some church that was at the campus when I could, and then we had like for football, like because we did stuff on Sunday, so we would have like FCA. And they'll bring somebody in and kind of teach a lesson and stuff, which was good. It was something. But I wasn't like in the faith that like I should. I wasn't in the word like I should. I think I had a better relationship with God because I was learning about him and growing with him. I talked to him more. I talked to him like we're talking now. It wasn't like this super spiritual thing. But just when I was choices and mistakes, I would talk to him. Didn't understand, like, Lord, why am I doing this? And just really finding who he was and who I am, and just going through just so many different, like, ups and downs, in and out of relationships. Like I said, just found myself just doing things that was really out of my character. Like, you weren't raised like this.
Right.
Had a hard time coping with the death of my best friend.
Yeah,
I literally almost flunked out that fall.
Wow.
I just didn't do anything. I just didn't care. I was real mad at myself, mad at God. Kind of woke up out of it afterwards. God brought me out of that and starting to get myself back on track.
But it sounds to me like you were staying away from the partying and the alcohol and all that.
No, I wasn't smoking, still a little partying. But I still was doing things that I wanted to do. Like, when I went into college and people didn't know this, my mom didn't know, but she knew because of the fear. Like, I still had my virginity. And people was like, oh, you superstar athlete, you had your virginity in high school? I thought you would, this, that, and the other. Just full transparency. I like sharing that.
Sure.
And telling people, I just try to be real,
Well, yeah, I mean, that does seem like an obvious
yeah, people like, oh,
thing
you
that
probably
you wouldn't have.
Yeah, and so, and like I said, when you start opening that door and you get into fornication and all that, like you said it earlier, like you start opening yourself to spiritual connections and ties, that illegal ties that shouldn't be in.
Right.
And it brings in like anxiety, fear.
The world does its best to try to convince you that ain't. It's all physical.
Nah, it's
not, man.
It's not. Like I battled anxiety, and I never had anxiety until my first girlfriend, who I actually lost my virginity to. Like, she had it bad, and I found myself having panic attacks and all this other stuff, and I'm just like, what in the world? Where did all this come from?
Right.
And not really understanding, knowing that there was a spiritual world, but I was still a babe, like not really knowing. I'm like, look, you're opening portals, you're opening doors for. They saying the word when Jesus and Judas, and he's just like, oh, he has nothing in me. The enemy had a lot in me because I opened up those doors. And so I wrestled a lot, with panic and stress. And like I said, I had the inadequacy issues still, still trying to find myself in relationships, being affirmed. None of them would last, It was like, come on, y'all want me? I'm the superstar.
Right.
I'm on the billboard. You don't see me?
Yeah.
And just, God really decreasing me, I was a humble guy, though. That the one thing I will say through it all, I still maintain a humbleness, and I just believe that's something God put in me for what He had for me in the future. Obviously, not at that time because I was still living how I wanted to live. But like I said, I'm glad though I was still rooted in the foundation of God. I'm glad, even though it was forced, the things in which my mom exposed me to with the Word and the foundation, because it never left.
Yeah.
It was still there, even though I was living. God said, even if you make your bed in hell, I'll be there.
That's powerful, man.
It's so true. It's so true.
God,
and
I
like
love that.
And I still didn't understand this verse back then when I was in college. That nothing can separate His love. And He's going to continue to do whatever He can. And He did that. I mean, He was stirring up my life all throughout college, and going into even my marriage, because He had something for me. He wanted that relationship. He had something big for me. I just needed to get on board with it. And he was loving enough to just wait.
So did you meet your first wife in college?
Yes, yeah, we went to school together. She was a dancer there. So yeah,
like a cheerleader.
Yeah, like a cheerleader.
All right.
Yeah,
Classic.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, so yeah, we met. I was actually her tutor.
This is getting more classic.
Yeah, so I was her tutor. I know, right? A little Saved by the Bell or something. I was her tutor, and we were friends. We started dating, I think, going into my into my sophomore year, something like that. And like I said, I did have my first child with her out of wedlock. So I'm literally she's pregnant. We're at college together, pregnant.
Oh, man, that's rough.
Yeah, so it's so I remember so we had our first child in March. We were still in school, both of us trying to graduate. I'm helping her with her classes.
Year?
Yeah, my senior year. So it's I was supposed to went off and train that semester. I was I'm not going to graduate. I'm training for the NFL draft. But I didn't go. I stayed so I can be with her, just during the pregnancy. And I think that kind of impacted me getting drafted or not, because I wasn't really ready. I was about to be a dad.
Yeah.
And trying to graduate and help her graduate. So it was just a crazy time. It's a crazy time. He was born March 30th. Graduation was the end of May. Draft was April 20th. So it was just I'm literally got a 1 month old, and then the next month graduating, then it's boom, off to Pittsburgh. And it was just a lot of craziness and a lot of
So you got picked up by Pittsburgh in the draft?
No, I went undrafted, but that same day I decided to go with them. I had different teams that I could sign with. I signed with Pittsburgh. And that was hard too, just sitting there, not hitting your name called.
Yeah,
being an all Big East, and then we played in a Big.
You were saying that everyone was expecting you.
Yeah. So before the draft, they have everything laid out in your projections, and I was projected a second and third round pick, and at that time, I mean that's your signing bonuses.
So wait, was that the same year Tom Brady was in the draft?
He was in 2001.
Okay,
my first. I forgot who was the number one pick, but I came out with Troy Polamalu.
Oh, wow.
And all of them. So it was my agent was just man, you're I don't understand how you're not getting drafted. And I thought I was going to get drafted. They called me to draft the Giants. Hey, we're going to pick you up in this round. Pittsburgh was yeah, we're going to pick you up in that. But this thing changes depending on the picks. And like I said, I just went on to be a high priority free agent, which was kind of disappointing. And I was just kind of what is going on? And I remember my mom telling me, she's Dave, God already told me. I had a dream, and God already told me that you're not going to get drafted and you're not going to be in the NFL long. And I said, I rebuke you, Satan, in the name of Jesus. At that time, I was just there you go, control, and this, that, and the other. And she was no, God just has something bigger for you. And she actually told me this before the draft. And I was nah, that's not true. That's not true. And but didn't get drafted. But went on to Pittsburgh. And the crazy thing about it is I went on, had a great camp, great preseason. Actually made the team.
I want to I don't know how many people know how this works. I don't really know how it works. So how do you get picked up by Pittsburgh after the draft?
So what happens is right after.
This is for the sports fans out
Yeah.
there. Not everybody's
So
gonna
you
care
had a
about
draft at 7 rounds, and then right after the last pick of 7 rounds, or even during the time teams are calling, it's just like, hey, we want to sign you as an undrafted free agent. And so pretty much what the draft is, it's just like the teams pick you, and you're slotted a certain amount of money and contract based off when you're drafted. And then if you go as an undrafted free agent, like I said, you can negotiate what your signing bonus is and stuff like that. Everyone still had the same minimum pay. It's just the signing bonus was different.
Does the draft come with a little more prestige?
It comes with prestige, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, you know what I mean? You got drafted this round, you got this much money.
Everybody sees you on the
yeah,
stage.
everybody, yeah. And
commissioner.
it's just like, oh, but it's funny when after the draft and after you pick your teams, when you go in there, outside of like first round pick, everyone looks like, all right, it's anybody ball game now. Like you made it. Everyone's here.
Wow.
Like, let's go play ball. So it's just like you kind of get past that disappointment. It's like, let's go play. So my first year.
So what is it like, as a guy, you've been playing football since you're 10.
Yeah.
This is maybe not, this has been in your mind for 10 years.
Yeah.
What's it like the first day you walk out on that Pittsburgh Steelers field,
it
man?
was crazy because
It's gotta be surreal.
You gotta understand. At that time, I went to West Virginia, which is an hour from Pittsburgh. So I actually was a Pittsburgh fan because they show local games only.
Right.
So the local team was Pittsburgh.
It's amazing that we can sit in the studio together.
Yeah.
God really is good, man.
Yeah, I know. So it's just like, so we had training camp. So first we had the mini camps and stuff. It was pretty cool. Now they bring in all the rookies, then they bring in all the vets. And at that time, it's just like the vets are like Jason Gilden, Joey Porter, Jerome Bettis.
Was Roethlisberger on the team?
He was my second year. He wasn't there yet.
Okay.
So it was the big draft picks was Troy Polamalu and Ike Taylor at the time. And I remember taking Ike down to West Virginia where he actually his baby moms went to school with me. He met this girl down when we went. And his son is playing football at Alabama, so I'll probably see him when I go
That's
down.
cool,
My son's
man.
Alabama, but yeah, it's an unreal feeling because these are people that you watched on TV playing. It's just like, oh, now I'm in the locker room with them, which was so cool. And one thing I liked about Pittsburgh that all their veterans, or these superstars, like were the coolest. They were down to earth. They treated you like you would think they would have an air about them because they're like big time. I mean, Jerome Bettis, cool. Like, he was amazing, very friendly. I remember being out at the Strip District, and he's, like, riding around in his limo, and he's like, hey, Upchurch, you good? You need a ride? You come get in the limo and make sure you get home because we don't drink and drive, this, that, and the other. I was like, nah, I'm good, this, that, and the other.
That's
so I'm
cool,
like, yo,
man.
even though he's my teammate, I'm like, yo, that's Jerome Bettis. Like, actually, I'm cool. So it's like, stuff like that is, like, amazing because, that's the bus. So he's a Hall of Famer.
Right, man.
And then, like, my favorite player growing up actually was a Pittsburgh Steelers. Was Greg Lloyd. That's why I was number 95. I love Greg Lloyd. Like, he was ridiculous. But just the history in it all. Obviously, I didn't like Pittsburgh because they was our rival. And so it's literally like the facility, you had the Steelers, and adjoined to them was Pitt Panthers facility. They shared the facility, and they shared the field, So it was like, oh, I'm over here by Pitt because we can't stand Pitt at Morgantown.
Oh, you mean the college?
The college, yeah.
Okay.
But so when I came, and so it's funny because it's like you see people that you played against in Pitt, and they be like, oh, like Larry Fitzgerald and stuff like that, because we played against them at West Virginia. And so it was just amazing. It was, I would say it was great being on that team. Everyone was down to earth, very friendly. And like I said, my first year, I had a great camp. Great preseason. I remember my friend watching the game, like I had a big sack and tackle. He was like, you going to make the team.
Who'd you sack?
I can't remember the quarterback. We were playing against the Eagles. It was like a third string.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm going to tell you a funny story, though. Like, it was a preseason game. We were playing the Cowboys. And normally, you have your starters to play a certain amount of time and then second and third. Yeah. So at that time, I'm rotating between second and third string.
In preseason.
And so, like, the first stringer got hurt. And we're playing against the Cowboys. This is, like, the first quarter. So, Cowboys had this guard, a real big football fan. His name's Larry Allen. He's one of the biggest human beings I ever seen in my life. His hands, everything. And the coach looking at me, and he was just like, I would send you in there with Larry Allen, but I know you can't handle it. I'm like, Coach, send me in there. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, yo, Larry Allen, like, he's an all-pro, Hall of Famer,
Right.
Cowboy O-lineman or whatever. And it was kind of like so exciting to be able to have the opportunity because I also was a Redskin, well, now Commanders fan. So obviously, I know everybody with the Cowboys.
Yeah, of course.
I couldn't stand them. But it was great. It was a great experience. The one disappointing experience I had, so like I said, my first year, after camp, and you go through cuts, and I'm making it through every cut, and the weekend of final cuts is always the first weekend of college football. So most people go back to their alma mater to watch the football game, stand on the sideline. You big professional football player,
Right.
So I'm at West Virginia, and one of my teammates is actually on Pittsburgh with me. His name Corey Ivy. He was a receiver, and I'm just chilling, and I'm like, yo, I didn't get the call yet. I think I made the team. I'm so excited. And so we just sitting there. So Corey was like, man, they just called me. I was like, man, my bad. And he was like, don't worry. They told me to tell you. They come with me. So I'm crushed because I'm like, what is going on? Because we were getting close to the deadline for them to have to make their cuts. I ain't heard a call. So I remember coming back to Pittsburgh, going into Kevin Colbert, who was the GM at that time. And he looked at me and he was just like, he said, man, you made the team. But I was like, oh, what you mean, but? He said, I just want to, actually, my first conversation was Bill Cowher. And Bill Cowher told me, he was just like, man, you had a great camp. We really, feel as though you're going to be a part of the rotation, this, that, and the other. But we had some things going on. I want you to talk to Kevin Colbert about
That's
it.
got to be wild, though, to have a Super Bowl coach.
Oh, yeah.
Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah.
Having this conversation.
Oh, absolutely,
with you, man.
absolutely.
I mean, come on.
It was definitely gratifying because he was well respected, my coach. So I go in there with Kevin Colbert, and I'm just like, he was just like, yeah, you made the team. So you try to make what they call the 53-man roster, which is the active roster, which comes with the, more pay than the practice squad. And people's like, oh, what's the practice squad? It's really just like third string. Like in the NFL world, everybody consider you a part of the team. It's just they give it that label because the pay is different. And so, but you got your playbook, game plan, and everything. Something happened during the week, you got to go in the game on Sunday. So, but he said, we made the 53-man roster, but something happened. Joey Porter was at Colorado State. He went to Colorado State. He went back for his alma mater. He gets shot.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't know if y'all remember this. This was back in 2003. He got shot. I think he got shot in his butt or his leg. It was a shooting at a party. And he was like, and we got to pick up a linebacker, a D-line linebacker, to replace Joey. So we're going to put you on the practice squad. And then as he get better, we'll see kind of what happens because you really don't know after that. And I'm just like hurt because all I kept, and I remember coming and we called Joey Posse. I'm sorry, that was James Ferrier. We called Joey Porter Peasy. And I was just like, Peasy, why you had to go back to your school? You cost me a whole lot of money not going back to school. And so it's like that was me in my voice. I wasn't crying or anything. But and so it's like, so I had to go on the practice squad. But I'm like, oh, I'm only going to be in here for about 4 or 5 weeks. They'll move me up. We went 7-9 that year. Didn't get moved up from the practice squad. Had a great off season, and excited. Like I'm coming in second string, competing with other guys. I was huge. I worked out. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be on the active man this time. I already got a year in my system. Everybody know I get hurt in camp, so I missed a couple preseason games after I got healthy. They released me, and it's like, we'll bring you back though on practice squad, but they end up not doing it. Keeping a guy that they drafted, and that's when Baltimore picked me up after that. But it was very disappointing.
Played 1 year with Pittsburgh?
So 2. I always say 2 because I counted by camps. We counted by camps. So I had 2 full camps released and then went to Baltimore.
I see.
And I was with Baltimore for about 3 months, probably like 16 games. So it's like, I think it was like week 10 or something like that. They had injuries. It wasn't that it's just like I was sucking at injuries.
That was under Brian Billick?
Brian Billick, yeah. And what people don't understand, like, it's such a business. Like, it's not like, oh, you're not good enough or you suck. Like, they got to make room and moves based on injuries, schemes, who they're playing. So they'll shift the active roster, move people from practice squad to be able to build, because you only can have a certain amount of teams. And at that time, once you get 2 practice squad years, you can't be on the practice squad anymore. You got to make the active. They've changed the rules now. So, like, you can be a veteran on a practice squad and get paid more. And because of COVID, now instead of they had 8, now you can have like 15 or something like that. And then at that time, you couldn't get any, they call it accrued seasons that count towards your retirement on the practice squad. Now you can. So, like, if you played 4 years, you would have full retirement with the NFL. The average NFL career is 3.5 years. But see, I don't get any practice squad years counted. Now they count.
Right, but
back then it didn't.
Right.
Because I would have had 2, so I'd have had 2 of because each year you get a different level of the retirement.
Right.
But I say that to say the experience was amazing.
Yeah. So did you play with Ray Lewis?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
so
that's
when
amazing,
so
man.
this is the cool thing.
He's
about
a Baltimore hero.
Yeah.
Bro.
So this is the cool thing about Baltimore. So when I got to Baltimore, which was cool, I'm back home. I was staying out Owens Mills, and remember first, they were very welcoming, and like this is just like crazy because it was just like, I mean, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh,
Terrell
man.
Suggs. Like, it was crazy. At that time,
that was one of the greatest, best defenses.
Oh man, it was unreal. At that time, what's my guy? Rex Ryan was my D-line coach. He was a crazy guy. He's funny too, and they were real cool, very welcoming. I tell people all the time though, the reason why they were so good and the defense were so good, they literally practiced how they played the game. Like, they joked around and everything and stuff like that, but like not during practice.
Them boys were killers, man.
It was such a focus. I remember at that time, Bart Scott, he was young at that time.
Yeah.
And he was on practice squad. And not the practice squad, but like on the scout squad. And we had to go against the first team. This made Bart so good. You knew Bart was going to be a beast and eventually play, because he was a beast then. And he would talk so much trash. And he started talking trash to, God rest his soul. He's a lineman. He died. Big black guy. Remember the referee threw the flag at his eye. He's from D.C., and I can't think of his name right now.
I don't remember.
But anyway, and he was talking trash to him, and he's like, yeah, Upchurch, kill him. I mean, this is an all-pro tackle. His son actually, Orlando Brown.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and
he had ALS, or his son has
something
ALS.
like that. And he was just like, you better stop. Man, I was like, leave him alone. Like, he was a huge human being. He used to drive up in this big Rolls Royce every practice. It was huge. But anyway, and it used to be, they practiced so hard and intense. It was amazing. But what was great about my Baltimore year, it was Deion Sanders last year. And he was,
oh man,
he was
you
my
were
locker
prime
mate.
time.
Prime time was my locker mate. So
Man,
it was cool.
that is neat.
I try not to be a fanboy. I'm like, oh my God, my locker was here and Deion's was right here. So we talked
cool,
and
man.
laughed and stuff, and I was just like, yo, this is kind of cool. You know what I mean? Deion Sanders, great guy. You know what I mean? Great guy. But
well, he always gave God the glory.
He
I
did,
don't know
and
what he's all about.
I mean, even then he did. I know he does a great job, you know, being vocal about his relationship with God and making sure that the young kids understand that you need a relationship with God. You got to put him first. You can't do it without them. One thing I see in sports, especially in the collegiate sports now, is they're not as shameful and they're more vocal about God and their relationship. You've seen it at Ohio State football team. They were just like adamant about it's God, it's God, it's God.
That's something I like about the Ravens. I mean, they're not afraid of it.
No, not
and
at all.
The new quarterback for the Commanders is really man. He's Jaden Daniels. He's really vocal about it.
I think it's just good, and I don't know where each person is.
Right. I mean,
but at least you know what I mean. You could come out and share, and it can prick whoever.
It's a
I
lot
think it's
different from
great.
the days of
No,
Joe Namath
oh yeah,
when it was
yeah,
all
yeah.
about
Oh yeah,
partied
partying,
all
women,
night
and all
come
that
out
other.
playing.
Totally different, totally different. So I appreciate it more.
Absolutely.
You see it, and like I said, it's gonna be an end time harvest, and I think a lot of avenues are going to be used for it.
Yeah, I
So,
believe that, man.
yeah.
So before we move on, did you ever play in an actual NFL game?
No, outside of preseason, no.
Okay.
Outside of preseason, I never got in. And I tell people this all the time. I say, it's thousands of people that never get in either.
Right.
And it's thousands of people that play years and never get in and still play years in the NFL. I think it's more so, and I'm not saying this because I didn't get in, but it's such an honor and privilege to put on the helmet and make it to that level.
Absolutely.
Because a small percentage even get that opportunity. And I'm grateful and thank God for that because, you put so much in it for that to be your end goal and having an opportunity to do that is great. And I believe that, like, if it was in my cards, it would have been in my cards.
Well, the way you have described it to me, as far as because from an outsider's perspective, it's like if you don't make the team or if you don't play in an NFL game, you just weren't good enough. But the way you're describing it, it all kind of boils down to the team's
needs.
Goals and needs.
Yeah.
And really, as far as you're concerned, that's the hand of God.
Absolutely. And then it's also a business. And so you draft a guy and you're paying him a certain amount and he might not be performing, but because you paid him, he has a longer leash. And you've seen it all the time. Like, I've seen people that was like playing or in there, it's like, yo, you shouldn't be here. You know what I mean? Like, you're here because of money, alma mater, connections. You shouldn't be on that field, but what can you do?
Right.
And so people got to understand that it's a business, and they try to leverage it as best as they can. And we're just commodity. We're just pieces that they move around. I mean, you look at like NBA, like they got to trade the same value that you get. So it's like they got to put pieces together. So if this is $10 million in contracts, they got to get $10 million in contracts. So
and it's like you could be the best linebacker on the field, but if you're not the right piece for these plays, then you're not going to get
absolutely. We had a player in Pittsburgh, Kendrell Bell. He would knock your head off. Like, knock your head off. He was so, like, athletic, explosive, powerful. Scheme-wise, he couldn't do it all because, was missing a little bit. But athletically, in football, he can play. But when you don't fit what they're trying to do, we got to put somebody else there. Even though he might not be as skilled, but he works better in the scheme in which they want to do.
Right.
And so I think that's where, people don't understand the game in that point. It's so bigger than just what you see on. It's so much bigger than what you see on.
No
on
doubt,
Sundays.
man. It's. I really appreciate. We've taken a little bit of time on this,
Yeah.
and I apologize to the non-sports fans, but I really appreciate you giving us a peek behind the curtain on all that, man. It's pretty neat. It's not often that you get to sit down with somebody with that experience.
It is, and I tell people, I say it's a great time, great experience. You learn a lot, and you see a lot. It's funny because you'll see, like you say, young people, 22, 23, and you see older people that got families. It's a weird dynamic because it's just like, you're playing this sport. It's a high-paying sport. It's high visibility and stuff like that. And you got people from different walks of life running their life completely different. You got people in the locker room who's like, I just want to party. And people's like, look, I can't wait to go home to my family.
Yeah, that's wild.
You got people that's talking about the next car they're going to drive. And you got people walking around with portfolios saying, hey, invest in this. It's just like, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. But it's just like, man, this is different. I tell people this too, just kind of tie everything that we're talking about. Like we would go out and literally like, oh, you play for the Steelers. It don't matter, practice squad, starter, second string, third string. The access and the availability of anything is there. And that's a scary thing.
Oh, I'll bet.
It is a scary thing, especially when you're trying to walk right.
Yeah.
And if you don't have God in your life and you're not leading on that grace, and even if you do, it's still hard because anything And when I mean anything, I mean whether it's access, whether it was woman, whether it was whatever you want, it was just there. It really was kind of surreal. Like it's just like life's not supposed to be like that. It's like you need restrictions. You need this, that, and
Right.
it shouldn't just be yes. It shouldn't just be okay. And it's kind of scary. You know what I mean? It's kind of scary, but it definitely, especially when you're young, you're coming in, you're 22, 23 years old. How do you really handle that? You know,
No
how do you
doubt.
handle that? So I tell people that it's not for everyone. And it's a lot. It's not for everyone. You see a lot of things. People, it's a culture there that's not conducive of lifestyles that obviously we agree with, and so it's a lot of things that you can fall into with that type of job or career.
No doubt. No
So
doubt. So, moving ahead, like, I guess, what was the next step? Like, how did you get out of that? What was God doing in your life at that point?
I think everything was stirred up. I was like I said, 2005 was like December 2005. Was in the playoffs. At that time, I was with the Chargers. They lost in the playoffs. Daggone third round kicker missed the kick. It was crazy. They get you in the third round, you missed the kick. I was like, God, because you get playoff checks each check. So I was like, God, you messing up everybody's money. So left them and had an opportunity to go to NFL Europe. That was another league that they had at that time. Didn't want to go. So I was just like, oh, I'll play arena.
Were you feeling? Oh, so my question was
Yeah.
going to be: were you feeling like you were done with football at this
I
point?
wasn't done in football. I think at that time I was just trying to find some pieces to kind of continue to keep the income coming because I was getting married at the time. I proposed to my then girlfriend, who obviously my ex-wife, and just finished up in December. But I'm a free agent, don't really have a team. So while I'm waiting on a call, I'm like, hey, this arena team in Orlando's like, hey, come play for us. If you sign with them and the NFL team call you, you can just leave. But I was like, you can come collect the check. At that time, arena was playing pretty good.
Okay.
And so I was like, I'm going to go to arena because NFL Europe, although it was NFL Europe, it wasn't paying as much. So and at that time, Jay Gruden was the coach. If you know Jay Gruden, he used to coach the Redskins,
Yeah.
brother John Gruden. So I was like, I'll go down there because they got connections with Tampa Bay. So I went down, played the arena in Orlando. It was pretty cool, made real good money. But like I said, I was preparing for my wedding. Stuff was kind of going off between me and my then girlfriend. I knew something was up.
Yeah.
And then, like I said earlier, found out what was happening. Still married her. Because I was like, oh, maybe if we get married, things will be right.
Right.
That was the wrong move.
And are you also at this time in your life? Are you still feeling God being involved in you?
Oh yeah.
I guess if I could say it like that.
No, never left. Like I said, anything that I did and lived, there was conviction. I'm talking about every day, every night. I mean, some may call it torment, you know what I mean? But it was just God just pricking and letting me know, like, hey, I got something for you. You don't have to live like this. Come to me, connect with me. It never left. Never, and like I said, it was still dibbling, dabbling, still prayer, still in my word, still going to church here and there. But my lifestyle wasn't.
But you're not surrendered.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm still doing what I wanted to do. At the same time, knowing
You're married, but are you cognizant of trying to follow the will of God, or are you just trying to figure it out on your own?
I think I'm thinking, and this is a scary thing, right? Like, it's scary to know that you're not following the will of God and you just continue not to follow the will of God. And like, I'm like, man, like if that ain't some type of blindness, delusion. No, it's not even delusion because I was cognizant of knowing. You know what I mean? It was iniquity.
Okay.
I knew, but I still did because I wanted the temporary satisfaction, the instant gratification, the feeling of the voids and the hurts. But it was still a wrestle there.
It's interesting that he was letting you do what you wanted to do.
Absolutely. And like I said, it was nothing but his mercy that I wasn't consumed. That I don't got diseases or kids or bad organs or whatever. And I'm just being transparent because somebody probably need to hear this.
Yeah.
Like It was nothing. It wasn't because I was lucky. It wasn't because of whatever. I was righteous living. It was nothing but his mercy that I wasn't consumed, because people that I know were consumed. And God shows mercy on who he shows mercy. And so who am I to, know his mind, but I can be grateful and thankful and actually be able to share to someone else, like, you may not feel him or you may not want to feel him, but he's there. He's knocking and he's calling. Those thoughts, those feelings where it's just like, I know that's not right, that's him.
Yeah.
That's him saying, hey, I'm here. And, I mean, this is years. So this is from being 13 years old to now I'm 25. And still, it's 12 years later, still struggling to wrestle.
So do you feel like your football career was born out of iniquity?
I don't think it was born out of iniquity.
I mean, it's my impression is, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're
but
fine.
My impression is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to me like God opened the doors for you to have that experience, and then he sort of shut the doors.
Yeah.
So you were like following his will in a sense during the NFL career, but when that came to an end, you sort of failed to see that it was over and wanted to keep it going. Does that sound accurate?
Somewhat. I think I didn't. I don't think it's out of iniquity, because I believe he knew he was going to use that. And so I believe that he allowed it to happen. I believe that when it was over, it was his grace for me. I received that it was over. People around me didn't. People didn't understand. Like, you're 25, you're still young. It's still teams that like you just go to tryouts and, this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, nah, it's not there. I didn't do it, though, because I knew that God was shutting that door. It was the hurt and pain that I was feeling from the betrayal.
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right, I need to be around my family, because I don't want it to happen again. Maybe because I wasn't there. That's why it happened.
Yeah.
Maybe because, so it's like, if I start bouncing around and stuff like that, then maybe she'll cheat again. Maybe this, that, and the other. Not knowing that I got an engineering degree too, and this, that, and the other. But I believe that all of that was still orchestrating. God's hand was still in my life in it all. Because I believe he knew that I couldn't handle what was coming from. Even though what was allowed was horrible, like was the worst thing I felt, probably, and I believe that even worse would be still being in the NFL. I think it would have consumed me. I know I wouldn't be at the place that I'm at. I know my soul wouldn't be assured to be with him, because he knew my frame.
Right.
He knew what I can bear. He knew what I can bear, and he knew what he graced me with, and it wasn't to be able to be in the NFL. Because if it was for me, I would have been there, I believe.
Right.
And so I believe once that happened and the door shut, I believe he didn't want me to get married.
Really?
Because he revealed what was happening, and I still did it.
Okay.
I truly believe to this day. I believe that. I mean, it was like a movie. It was like a movie. Night before the wedding, I went out with my groomsmen. She went out with her bridesmaid. Her ex-boyfriend was at the club. He couldn't look me in my eye. I was just like, discernment, like, why is he not look? Because we all went to school together. Why are you not looking in my eye? I come back to the hotel.
So you found out the night before your wedding?
The night before the wedding.
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
man.
the night before the wedding, I confronted her, like this, that, and the other. She started crying. She would say yes. I was like, I knew it. You know what I mean? And it was a long night. You know how they say don't see your bride the day of the wedding. Like, everything went into the long night. It was crazy. But
you're a big man, man.
Oh man,
Golly.
I'm heavy blue if you know color, so it's just like I don't want her to feel embarrassed. It was in Charleston, West Virginia. I got my family down and stuff like that. I know my mom. I remember she was like, "You should have told me. We would have been okay. We're your family. We love you and stuff like that." And I was just like, "Well, I just wanted to do right. We already had my son. I was like, I thought I can get through it. I thought I can get past it, and we tried. It just was too much.
Yeah,
too much, and it just was too much. And I believe at that time, like I said, I think it's things that God intend for us to go through, and it's things that He's like, nah, I intend for you to go through it. Yeah, I'll work it out for good, but I intend.
Right.
And I believe that was a situation
I agree with that.
He
sure.
worked out for
Absolutely.
good because He exposed it.
Yeah.
He showed it.
Yeah.
And instead of consulting Him, I was just, all of my feelings, emotions, and like so that went on, and we married.
How long did you play football with the arena?
Just 1 year. I didn't go back. Jay Gruden kept calling, like, come back. And I'm just like, nah, I'm married now. We kind of going through some things right now. I don't want to have to leave.
You travel a lot.
Yeah, and stuff like that. And so it's just one of those things where it's just like, nah. And I was like, come on, man. Good player. I believe you can get back in the NFL and stuff. And I was just like, nah, I wasn't feeling it.
Wow.
I wasn't feeling it. Like, whatever I had for football was gone. I believe God took that away. And He was taking me to that next step, that next journey.
And how long did you guys stay married?
We got divorced in 12, so officially it would have been 7 years.
But you were together for how long? Like actually as a married couple?
Probably like
5 years.
4.5.
4.5.
Yeah, 4.5 years. And in that time, we had our second son, Miles, which we thought that would fix our marriage. She didn't want another child. But I was like, well, let's get another child. Maybe that'll. It did. And
were you guys going to church?
We were. And then it was just things kind of got rough and rocky. Then we were just kind of like distant towards each other, a lot of arguing. And then, like, it was some, like I said, some other infidelity.
During the marriage?
During the marriage.
Oh.
But she was like, she made it seem like, oh, we were separated. I was like, no, but you were talking to that guy and doing something with that guy before. And it kind of just kind of led to the separation, which I kind of left the home just because it got crazy in there. And but then I was just like, well, Lord, I can't get a divorce. I'm in that mindset.
Yeah.
Same mindset I was where I got to get married and this, that, and the other, like, and tried to, but it just, and then she just like, no, I'm not going to do it. Got divorced.
She said she wasn't going to divorce you?
No. She said she was. Like, she wasn't going to get
she
back
ain't
together.
doing this anymore.
Yeah, she
Okay.
didn't. And we were young, and I think she was just wanting a different life.
Yeah.
Different setting. I think she had the same motives that I did. Like, we had a child, and let's see. But she knew the writing was on the wall. She knew what she wanted before. It's just, maybe it was just maybe she had the same feelings that let's try and see what's up. But like I said, it didn't work out. I was still trying to be committed to it all the way to the end. And, I like I said, I had a lot of shame, a lot of condemnation, a lot of regrets. Didn't really understand. And then this is the season between, I'm going to just use 2012 because that's when it went final, to 2020. Those 8 years was like hard, depression, anxiety, got back smoking again.
Where were you for those 8 years? Were you here in
Family.
Maryland?
I was still in Maryland. Had my own places, then family places, had jobs, lost jobs.
Were you going to that original church where you grew up in?
I was initially, and then kind of like bounced around a little bit because it just really wasn't feeding me. I was into some of those, I want to say, I'm going to call them like worldly churches, with the lights and glint, kind of into that. And like, this just ain't it, and then it's just like.
Mega churches.
Yeah, and stuff. And then I just like wasn't going to church at all and really not being an example to my kids that I wanted to be, even though I try to make sure they were going. Like, my mom would take them or something like that. And then I'll go sometimes. But I was just in the bad seasons, just really, until I got to a point where I was just tired. I was tired of living how I was living. I was tired of running from God. And He brought me to a point.
Now, in those 8 years, did you feel God pulling you in a certain direction? Like, did you know that God had a call on your life?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've had a word spoken over me my whole life.
Oh, okay.
Like, so many different situations, men of God, speaking the same thing. Oh, you call to preach, call to be a pastor. I'm not receiving it. I don't want to be a preacher. I don't want to be a pastor. Like, no, you're called. God got something. And I'm like, I'm not receiving that. I wasn't, even when I got hearing the words spoken to me, I'm not receiving that. You know what I mean? Like, what? No. Even Bishop come up to me, hey, I don't want to receive it. Until now, I'm surrendered now, but I was like, I don't want to receive that. I think it wasn't even fear. I think it was more so like shame. Like, more so shame because like the conviction that I felt, like I knew better. I knew better. And I was like, why did I do this? Why did I do that? Why was I, like I can't, why would you want to use me? Or I think it was just a lot of shame, a lot of condemnation.
You know what blows my mind? Just as we're talking, maybe it's an obvious thing, but it really just came to me is like you get that call from God. You get that people tell you got this call in your life. Early in your life, you get that. And then you go off and do all these things.
Yeah.
And you think that, that call is gone.
Yeah.
Like that ain't for me anymore, You never get away from it.
That's a good
If
point.
God called you to do something, that's always what he has you to do.
Absolutely.
You got divorced.
Yeah.
You did all this stuff, man.
Yeah.
All these things that you would think would negate the call.
Absolutely.
And I mean, Jonah, look at Jonah.
Yeah.
Jonah had this call. He spent 3 days in the belly of a
Nineveh.
fish.
I'm not doing it.
All this stuff, man. And that call never leaves. Samson did everything the opposite of what God told him to do.
Yeah.
And at the end of his life, he still fulfilled the call of God on his life. It's pretty amazing to me that God doesn't take that away.
It will chase you down. It will chase you down. I guess because he has that, he knows the end from the beginning, which we don't know. So it's just like, we're like, what? You still here?
Right.
Yeah, it's like, you still here? Like, what? I didn't.
Man, you can't even.
I mean,
you
like,
can't
what?
imagine it.
So you don't see what I just did with
Right,
the girl?
man,
You don't see what
right.
I was just doing with my boys, and you still here? Like, why are you still talking to me? Why are you still convicting me? Like, I have chosen to do this, and he's still here. Like,
it's wild.
Still
man.
here, like speaking through men of God, speaking to me, talking to me. Even in my worst states, even when in my lonely states, he's like, "Yo, I'm here. Hey, I'm here," and I'm just like, "What?" And it's funny. It's in those 8 years, I knew his presence was still there. Like I never felt like he necessarily left, more so than I left him. More so than it's just like I'm just going to ignore it. But he wouldn't let me ignore it. He wouldn't let me turn. He wouldn't let me, he didn't turn me over to a reprobate mind to do the things that I want. He's definitely long suffering. Because like I said, like now you tack on another 8 years of just him chasing me down, and his grace and his mercy continue to fall. And like during that times, like I said, failed relationship, depression, anxiety, back to drinking, smoking, fornication, like you name it, like I had my bouts.
In those following 8 years.
Yeah, in those following 8 years. Now, I had bouts where it's just like, all right, I'm going to do it right.
Yeah.
And I'll go clean off everything. And then it'll be like, nope. Clean off everything. Nope. And it wasn't until, like I said, 2020.
What was it that got you to that place?
I was just sick and tired. I was tired of, like, where my life was. I was tired of the conviction. I was tired of, like, the disappointments. I was just tired of running. And I said, all right, Lord, I'm going to do right. I'm going to do right. Which I tell people all the time, like, it's a good state to be at the end of yourself, but that statement, I'm going to do right, like, I don't like telling people that, teaching people that, because I still got a mindset of trying to do things on my own and doing right. But I was at that point where I'm like, all right, Lord, I'm going to do right. I'm going to do right. I'm going to live right. I'm going to this, that, and the other. And I believe he still accepted that. Because he knew what my heart was. The words might have came out like, I kind of still think it's some self still in there that I'm still going to work out, but I see where your heart is. And at that time, I kind of had a good year of just kind of trying to walk better. And I want to say around March of 2021, I was just like, all right, Lord, I'm ready to surrender. And literally, like, I met Kimmy. And
so that's how you came to Antioch?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was funny because it's just like, all right, I had these 8 years, and like, all right, Lord, I'm ready. And then I kind of had a year from that, I'm ready, and I still wasn't ready because I'm still some things. And then around March or whatever, it's just like, all right, Lord, I'm ready. And then like online dating, met Kimmy. It's like, oh, what church you go to? This, that, and the other, apostolic, all this other stuff. And I'm just like, oh Lord, she might be the one, but I'm not ready. I'm not ready to be married. My life is in flux. Like I ain't got stuff together. My credit. I'm staying with my mom. I ain't got a car. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like in like the worst place. Which at that time, like now looking back to it, it's just like I was nothing but dependent on God, and I needed God in my relationship, everything. I needed her blind Kimmy eyes of all the quote unquote qualities that the world would be like, you don't want to be with him. To see me, because she was a wonderful woman at this time, and I said, Lord, you funny. You gonna send this saved woman, this woman that I'm looking for, beautiful, saved. You know, I mean, she is strong, got a little spark to her, but it's something that I need though in my life right now at the worst time. Like I'm not ready, and she expects me to be ready.
Well, if anybody can whip you into shape,
yeah,
she can.
Yeah, and literally, like he really showed the meaning of in my weakness, his strength is made perfect. He really showed like being that fourth man in the fire. That like, look, I'ma show up once you realize that it's only me, and you got to be dependent on me. Like
That's awesome.
I can tell people this all the time. Like I found my wife at my lowest, and when I mean lowest, like I said, I had my own place. I ain't have a car, credit shot. Like still had a good job, but like weight, physical, every aspect, just now surrendering to God. Like all the places you think like I gotta have all these in a row before I can be a husband and all this other stuff. And God's like, no, as long as you depend on me, I got you. And literally a year later, we're married. But I think the biggest thing that came from that, well, the second biggest thing, because she's still the biggest thing, was me coming to Antioch. When I walked into Antioch, which is truly the friendliest church in town, and I know we say it cliche, but I can say from experience, it's truly like, and I see, because I went to it was all black church, like, and us black folks, but all skin folk ain't kin folk, and it was it was real cliquish. I ain't saying it ain't like cliques in here, but I'm just saying it was real cliquish. You really didn't know the pastor, and it was just real like you had to be in the high leadership. It was just like it was a mess. But you come in here and you're greeted, you're showed love. I was just like, wow, I love this place. I'm like, even if me and Kimmy don't work out, I don't know how that's going to be, but I'm staying here, And I began to see, a lot of things in my life begin to change. And I really began to grow in relationship with God. And start to understand like his character now and who he is. Now, he showed me, and Pastor just kind of preached this. It's crazy. Like he showed me who he was the last 22 years, just like he did with the children of Israel. Like I'm going to show you I'm going to be a provider, a protector, and all this. And it was literally within months, I just realized like who he really was. I'm like, man. And then I was able then to go back and look at all those years before and see how he was there, how he was a provider, how he sustained me, how he kept me, how he covered me. I'm like, God, how did I not see his love then?
That, that takes me back to another purpose for this podcast is because I feel like looking back at your past, a lot of people, especially when they get saved, they kind of want to hide from their past because maybe they have a lot of shame in it, or they're afraid they're going to glorify the bad things that they did. But man, I think it's really powerful to look back and see how God, at your worst moments,
absolutely,
God had his hand on you, and that is proof of David's. You mentioned it earlier, David's words of saying, "When I made my bed in hell, you were with me."
Absolutely.
Man. I mean, I did my story a couple of episodes ago, and I talked about one night I was in a pub with a bunch of my friends. I got a cigar in one hand and a beer in my other hand. sitting around the table telling dirty jokes.
Yeah, been
And
there.
this guy keeps staring at me.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, I'm like, "Yo, man, is there a problem?" And I'm saying, I wasn't confrontational. I've never been in an
Yeah,
actual fight. So I asked him nicely, like, "Is there a problem? It seems like you keep staring at me."
yeah,
Again, cigar in one
yeah.
hand, beer in the other. He looks at me, and goes, "You're a Christian, aren't you?"
He just saying
And he's
that.
like, "Not just a Christian, but you're born again."
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, my buzz was gone, man. You know?
Yeah. He called your card, then
Yeah,
he pulled
yeah.
that thing and slapped it on
Right.
the table. Actually, he slapped it on your forehead. And said, Here you go.
Right. God is always there, man.
He's always there, and I believe I tell people this too. I tell people all the time, like, look, there's seasons and times to everything, and that includes revelation. Like, he'll open your eyes to things when he feels as though you're ready to receive it. And I believe that, although I sit back and just like, how did I not see it? And I should have known it. It was the right timing when I needed to know.
That's what it's all about.
And so I tell people, like, yeah, there's some seasons where you may not understand, but there'll come a time where he'll give you that understanding and revelation. And he talks about in his word about discerning the times and understanding what they mean and what he's doing. And sometimes it might not be fully known in that season, but it will be a time where you can see it. And now I can look back and say, like, look, like, it was nothing but God's grace. How did you get married? It was nothing but God's grace. Well, how did you handle that divorce? It was nothing but God's grace and mercy. Well, dang, how did you? It was nothing but God.
Yep.
Because at that times I thought I was doing things out of my own, but he was still there the whole time, because that's what his word says.
Yep.
And that's his promises that he has for his children. And I'm his son. And being a father, although I didn't have a father, but now being a father, you understand that.
It gives you a lot of perspective.
Oh, man, it gives you a whole lot of perspective. And so you thank God. Now it's just like, man, Lord, like, you showed me what you can do in the weak moments. And that's why I said earlier, and he's been putting in my heart, like, whether either it's blessings or it's breaking, Jesus is still in it. Jesus is still in it. And in my life, yes, I've been blessed, extremely blessed. But I've seen him the most, and I felt him the most in the breaking.
Yep.
In the breaking where he showed up, like his word says, so big.
When you don't even know he's there, that's when he's there the most.
Oh, man, that's when he's there the most.
Yeah.
And when you can sit back and then see it, when
man.
he allows you to see it or you allow yourself to receive it, then now that's that posture of gratitude that you have.
I hope that one day I get wise enough to, because I still, in my worst moments, forget that he's there.
Oh, yeah.
I wish that I could remember that when I'm at my worst, that's when he's at
Absolutely.
there,
And I think sometimes, like, you're like, Lord, just give me that. And he's like, nope, because I keep you in a humble place to continue to depend on me, because I want you to always stay in that place of needing me, and being in a place where you understand, like, I need you, Lord, and so it's like I'm grateful and thankful,
Yeah. So was there a moment in a church service or in your walk with God at this time? Was there a moment where you finally just laid it all down? Did something lead you to a moment, or was it just a process?
I think it was more of a process. Like, I think it's just kind of like taking steps and stuff. It's funny, like, so when I first came here, and I'm still a casual guy, but I'm in my jeans and t-shirt because it's just like casual. Like I said, I kind of was going to even those little worldly churches. It's just like, have a beard and all this other stuff. And no one told me that I need to do anything or whatever and stuff like that. And I can really attest to, like, the internal change that shows an outward change. Because I just, like, one day I just went in the bathroom and just, like, shaved my beard off. And that was hard for me. It ain't had nothing to do with leadership or anything. But it was just, like, to me, it was just like, it was a lot of vanity. It was a lot of ego built in that. And it was a lot of insecurity built in that. And I hid behind it. I never thought I did until I had that moment. I remember Kimmy was like, oh, you shave your beard. I love your beard and this, that, and the other. I was like, yeah, I don't know why I did it, but it felt good.
Yeah.
Because I hid behind and I thought people and viewed me in a way. and vanity and stuff like that. And it's just like it's sort of like taking off a mask. But it was a process. I think it was an unspoken process that God was doing. Like nothing was like told to me either by people in the church or whatever, but He began to start working in me, and my relationship with Him started growing. Meaning, like I started to spend more time with Him, and speaking and talking to Him, and He started speaking and talking to me more. I wouldn't say that it was like this big like aha moment.
Right.
I did have moments. Go ahead.
I just want to tell people, like, nobody's telling anybody that you can't have a beard.
Yeah,
This
no,
is just,
no.
and this is just an example
Um,
of God manifesting what He's doing inside, it manifesting itself on
Absolutely.
the outside.
Yes. Thanks for setting that. Yes, absolutely was, and it's just like I just found myself. I was trying to give a simple example of just like how He was just bringing up things that was inside, because it wasn't even about the beard.
Right.
It was about what I was hiding behind, and how I thought people viewed me or wanted people to view me, and it was very liberating in that. And I remember I was just down up front, just like worshiping, and I remember I guess a moment where, because obviously I'm Bishop, I'm respected man of God to me, what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when he came and spoke to me, and he was like, "Oh, God hands on your life," and began to share things that God was telling him, and I was just like, "Oh, okay, I've heard these things before." I was like, God, like you say, you're still here telling me this stuff, God. Like, I haven't done enough to disqualify myself.
Yeah.
Now you have this well-respected man of God who I really don't know, because I'm still new to the church. I just know him by name. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, Lord, like, and it's just like, and I'm still kind of wrestling with it. And then even my wife's like, when are you going to just stop wrestling and just submit to what God wants to do? And I'm just like, yeah, all right, Lord. All right, Lord. And I think the submission thing was hard because of fear. Like, and it wasn't fear to walk in the calling more so than the price that I know it was going to cost. You know what I mean? Like, we sharing the suffering, and I got family, and I got a wife now, and it was like, Lord, I don't know what we're gonna go through, and this, that, and the other. But His love had to cast out all that fear, and say, look, I got you, and He has, because obviously, we've been through a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, man.
A roller coaster ride, and
Kimmy was sharing some of that.
yeah,
the
she
other night.
was. She was sharing that, and people don't understand, and obviously you understand being a father. When things impact your children.
Oh man,
it's
and you're helpless.
Oh, helpless, and it's just nothing you can do. People talk about in sports being a dog, like, man, you're a dog, like, yeah. And I tell people, yeah, I'm a dog, but for a different reason. I'm trying to be dependent on God.
Yeah,
that's the dog that I want to be.
Good.
Yeah, dependent on God. I ain't gonna steal that. Brother Tom gave me that, but I like it though. We always got to be that dog. We talk about being that dog, but dependent on God, and He'll put you in places because He trusts you, because He loves you, and because He wants to work out something in you that He's perfecting. But also, like Kimmy says, He wants to show you what He's put in there that He wants to use, and show you that that I've graced you for a lot of things that you just don't know. But I'm gonna allow some things in your life. I'm going to allow some things in your kid's life that's going to be uncomfortable, that's going to hurt a little bit, that you can't control, that all you can do is trust Him. And it's funny, you said an event, and it kind of has something to deal with you. First time, like I said, I talk to God and everything and stuff like that, but like I'm growing now, like in God. And I remember I'm still new to the church. And I don't know if you remember this or whatever and stuff like that, but I did not know about your family, your situation, anything, but you were sitting in front of me. God was just speaking to me. And at this time, I think your youngest daughter was going through something health-wise, and he was just like, pray for him. And he was like, tell him it's done and it's finished and it's gonna be okay. And I was just praying for you and telling you all this stuff. And I think literally like a week later, she had to go in for surgery, but everything went well and stuff like that. And that was the first time, like, I was like, yo, like, because he was telling me so much about health and I can remember vaguely some stuff that I was telling you. It wasn't me, it was him. But on the same token, it's like, I'm like, oh, Lord, you speak to me. And it's real, because I'm new. I don't know you. I don't know the story.
I
don't
really feel like I've only gotten to know you since
Yeah,
January.
yeah. So it's like I didn't know anything. And so that was a moment where like I realized like, oh God, you can use me.
That's awesome.
You can use me.
I'm glad to have been a part of that.
Yeah, you was a part of it. Oh, well, that's just even when we was in men's and you came and you prayed for me.
Prayer, yeah.
And I was like, oh God, it's so real because he don't know. He don't know what just happened and the grants and you opening up doors. And that's why I had to tell you, I was like, yo, that was definitely God because this, that, and the other. And I know how it's important for us. And I think Brother Milton was saying it tonight, like God wants his training grounds to be used to let you know, because he already know, but to let you know, like, look, I can use you. And I think I needed that because of the inadequacy issues I had, the affirmation and just feeling shame, condemnation of the life that you live. And he's like, no, I can use you. If you can be sensitive to my voice and hear me and be obedient and listen and allow me to work in and through you, I can use you. And that was also a moment. So that was a moment where it's just like, oh, okay, God. And that's when, start to learn his voice and recognize that voice. And I believe when you're in that training, that proving grounds, he's going to give you confirmation of hearing because that's the only way you're going to know.
Well, it's kind of like those moments, like in sports, it's stack and win.
Yeah.
Those moments, you stack those moments up until you have something that God – you see a body of work that God has done through you.
Absolutely. And it's he's loving enough to show you that. So you don't have to sit there and question. So how you going to learn his voice if you don't affirm and confirm that was his voice? So he going to show you, like, yeah. And that's the confidence and assurance that we need to have. And I think when he talks about the spirit of fear and like you say in the Greek, it means timidity. And, just having assurance and knowing that I heard his voice, and I'm going to be obedient, and God's going to do what he says. That's the point that we want him to bring us to.
Right.
And we strive for.
So that pretty much brings us up to present day. Yeah. What are you doing now, man?
Oh, man, now it's just, just serving, like just waiting on God and serving,
Well, I'm saying specifically because I want to give you an opportunity to plug your ministry.
Okay. Oh, okay, I got you. So now, like, just, me and my wife, we started a nonprofit, obviously with a testimony and things that's happened with my son, called Unburdened Heart. We work with those families and youth and adults that's been impacted by the justice system, whether they've been in jail or they're re-entering back into society. Want to be able to offer them programming, like workshop development, life skills, obviously celebrate recovery, things to kind of help them acclimate when they get back into society or while they're actually in the different facilities. So we've been working with Department of Juvenile Services as well as Maryland State Corrections. We just was awarded 2 grants, and we already had one, working with families, and now we're going to be working with those reentry with like some workforce development. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah,
so
that's amazing.
Yeah. So it's like, we plan on like, teaching them job skills, life skills, resume, job retention, some entrepreneurship. I'm hoping to be able to start a couple of businesses. I know you do like pressure washing and stuff. Yeah. So hopefully if you have some like training type things, let me know. So I plan on trying to get, especially, people in church that have businesses like you and Tony and Brother Steve, HVAC, just kind of giving them like exposure to those things. Maybe it's just like, hey, shadow for a day. Come see if you like it and stuff like that. To just kind of show them love. Like, you got to understand when you re-entering back to society, sometimes, you're a felon and it's hard to get employed. But we're men and women of God, and we need to show love.
That is awesome.
We're giving second chances.
Dude.
I mean, this whole gospel is about second chance. It's literally like, hey, you know what?
And third and fourth.
Yeah, absolutely. So, They just need love. People need love, and they need the love of God to be shown, not just told, but shown. And if I can't show it, all of that I'm preaching, you know what I mean? Then how can I expect them to serve a God that I serve? If I look at them as their acts and God don't look at me like me and you said, like it's just we weren't caught. So just trying to expose them to men and women of God who, hey, we know where you've been at, and maybe we don't, but we know a God that can fix, solve, and be there through every trial and circumstances. So we're excited about Unburdened Heart.
How can people find out more about it?
www.unburdenedheart.org is our website. Feel free to go on there and check us out. We kind of got to start building our page, put testimonials on. It's funny that I'm on this podcast because we wanted to start a podcast as well. Just talking about people with reentry and dealing with a lot of trauma and a lot of pain and hurt.
Well, when you get your podcast up, we'll have you back on, and you can plug that.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe share some of the testimonials here, and then guide people to yours.
Oh man, that'd be great. I'm excited.
Hopefully this one gains some traction.
Oh no, man, no. It's been a great time. Just diving into stuff and just sharing what God has done, and just sharing some of the natural things that's been going on. So giving people an understanding of where I come from.
That's awesome, man. That is really an exciting thing, dude.
Yeah.
Anything that I can do to team up with you and help you out with that, I would love to be a part of.
Oh man, that'd be great. Oh yeah, I was gonna call you like, hey, come show people. It's funny, I tell people all the time, it's like, oh man, pressure washer and all this other stuff. I was like, no, it's a skill to it. You don't go mess up people's siding and concrete. Trust me.
I like that.
You put the wrong stuff in there, you mess it all up.
Right.
But it's important that it's our whole nonprofit is still ministry, and it's all shaped around the love of God.
That's awesome. And then you also do Celebrate Recovery. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we do Celebrate Recovery on Wednesday nights at 6:40. It's an amazing ministry.
Here at Antioch.
Here at Antioch. Yep, in Arnold, Maryland. It's based on 12-step principles that you see in other recovery groups, such as AA and NA, but it's built on the Word of God. So every step is built on a biblical foundation. And we go through these different steps each Wednesdays. We have lessons and step studies that we go through. It's dealing with anybody that have any hurts, habits, or hang-ups. If you're breathing, you have them.
Right. As I understand, it's not only for recovering addicts.
No, it's not. It's not. And actually, in Celebrate Recovery, I want to say it's only 40% that deal with addictions. It's a lot of people. We deal with anger, we deal with trauma, we deal with abuse. Pornography, cell phones. I mean, you name it.
Right.
Anything that keeps us separated from God, and anything that has impacted us where we're dealing with fear or peace. We really want to get to the root of things. I think a majority things that we deal with is rooted in fear and manifested in symptoms. And what we do and what we try to do is tell people you can't treat the symptoms. We really want to get to the root.
Yeah.
And you only can get to the root by having a relationship with God, because he's the only one that can fix it. So we have something for everybody. If you're dealing with whatever, come to Celebrate Recovery. It's really a ministry to just show you how to grow closer to God and allow him to control. It's 3 steps that we work every day, admitting that we're powerless to our compulsive behaviors, that our life is unmanageable. Then we work a step of knowing that there's a power that's greater than ourselves to bring us to sanity. And that power, we believe, is Jesus Christ. And that 3rd step is making the decision to submit our cares and our wills over to the care of God. So it's truly a process of surrendering, coming to the end of ourselves, and realizing that the only person that can fix and change things in our life. And we're not talking about changing circumstances. We're talking about changing a perspective of mind.
That's a great point.
A lot of times people look at religion or look at God to try to change circumstances. And I believe that the whole ministry and change is built around a change in mind. God says in His Word about renewing our minds and not being conformed of this world, but being transformed by the renewing of our minds. A lot of healing is in our minds and seeing things how God said.
It's perspective.
That's all it is. It's all about perspective. And so when you realize that if you think on those things that are truth, they're not are facts. I tell my sons, it's facts and truth are different, and we believe in truth. Now, some facts can be true.
I like that, man.
Yeah.
Because you don't think about it like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Facts and truth being two separate things.
They are two separate things. Hey, the fact is the doctors say I got this, that, and the other, but truth said that I'm healed.
Yeah.
Truth said that I have peace. So a lot of times we put all our cares and our energy on the facts, but we neglect the truth.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah,
man.
so it's just all a change in perspective. And that's why God said think on things that are true, that are lovely, that are pure.
You know what? If this we've been here for a little over 2 hours.
Yeah.
If this podcast hasn't made any other point, that one was a good point to make.
That's a good point.
It was worth it.
Yeah, it was worth it. And it's funny, we've been here for 2 hours. Even though I see the clock, it's been it
flew by, man.
Yeah, it flew by. Great conversation. It's been a great time. I can't wait to. I know he's going to invite me back on.
Oh yeah. One last thing, I just want to ask. Like you mentioned, you talked about Celebrate Recovery. Can people find out more about that? Is there a place?
Yeah,
to go?
so on you can go to Facebook, Celebrate Recovery at Antioch, and that's on Facebook where you can get updates, lessons, when we're meeting. We have different fellowship events, but that's every Wednesday here at Antioch Apostolic Church in Arnold. Start at 6:45, and we normally go to 9. We have a large group and a small group, so it's a great thing. So if you want to find out more, you can go to Facebook at Antioch.
You guys still serving up dinner on it?
We're going to get back. So we're having fellowship events. I think our next fellowship event is July 30th. We're eventually going to get back to weekly dinners. We haven't worked that all the way in, but we're working on that. So hopefully when we get that going, it'll get the numbers up. But we've had good numbers, around 30, 20, 30
That's
people
awesome.
every Wednesday. So
David, it took a while for us to make this happen. I'm really excited. I really have enjoyed being here. I'm glad we finally made it happen.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you
I'm excited
coming here and sharing your story, man. So thank you for being here.
Man, thanks for having me.
Yeah, is there anything else you want to close out with?
No, I just want to say just continue to trust in God. He's there. No matter what the circumstances may be, no matter how long you've been away, for those who may be struggling or feeling as though hey, my life has been a mess, and that's when God really shows up. He wants to meet you exactly where you at. Just trust and believe that He can turn every situation around. He's there to love on you. He's there to care for you. His thoughts for you are not of good and not of evil. Can testify of that for over 20 years I ran, and now I'm at a place of submission. Is my life perfect? Is everything going? No, absolutely not. But I have peace. I have joy. I have love, the love of God, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So I appreciate you guys for listening. I'm open to any questions. So if you have any question, and Brother Trader can get that back to me, I have no problem answering. Anything. It could be about sports, anything. I don't mind talking.
David is one of the nicest guys. We're the friendliest church in town, but David might be one of the friendliest people in church.
Yeah, everybody say that. They say you're a big teddy bear. I say, I'm a big guy. So
must have left all those evil feelings on the field.
I left it all on the field.
There you go, man.
I left it all on the field.
Right on. Well, all right. Well, thanks a lot, David, and thank you everybody for listening. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me. All right.
And with that, David has stepped down from the stand. Hey, David, thanks again for your testimony today. As we come to a close today, I'd like to leave you with a warning. Often, when we hear a testimony like this, we are tempted to believe that just maybe we could be the exception to the rule, that we could possibly be that one person who gets it right. I urge you, please don't fall into that trap. Let God have the reins of your life. God has a purpose for you. Surrender to Him and let him lead you on the path he has for you. I can't promise you it will be easy. In fact, the opposite is probably true. But I know that in the end, you won't be disappointed. Then said Jesus unto his disciples, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? Matthew 16:24-26. Thanks again, everybody, for listening today. I hope you have enjoyed this episode of the Witness Podcast. If you have enjoyed listening, please take a minute to like and follow our podcast. We'd also love to hear from you, so feel free to leave us a review. You can also follow us on Instagram at the.witnesspodcast. Also, if you do follow us, if you subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, you'll also be notified whenever new episodes drop, which we are trying to put out every 2 weeks. You can learn more about David's organization, Unburdened Heart, at www.unburdenedheart.org. And I also want to encourage you to go on Facebook and follow Celebrate Recovery at Antioch so that you can be kept updated on stuff that's happening with the Celebrate Recovery group here. Or, you might be able to find one wherever you're listening from if you go on the Celebrate Recovery website. And I would encourage everybody to do that just to learn more about that program. We will provide you with links to both in our description. One last little detail. I want to give a thanks to my mom. The past couple of episodes, we didn't have an actual gavel to adjourn these podcast episodes, so we were just improvising. But my mom recently donated an actual gavel to the show. So today when we adjourn, we'll be using a gavel courtesy of Luann Trader Richards. So thanks again, everybody. And until next time, we are officially adjourned.